Everyone at Westbridge High knew Claire Bennett. They called her the school ice queen. Not because she was mean, not because she hated people. Actually, Claire was one of the most respected students in school. She was the art club president, the student council vice president, the girl teachers trusted to represent the school at every competition. She had perfect grades, perfect manners, perfect control. And somehow, she had never dated anyone. Not once. People had theories. She's too focused on her future. She probably thinks nobody is good enough. She's impossible to impress. I never believed those rumors. Because I knew something most people didn't. Claire Bennett was not cold. She was just careful about who she let close. My name was Lucas Reed. And unlike Claire, I was not someone people paid attention to. I was the guy who repaired old cameras for the media club. The guy who helped paint backgrounds for school events. The guy who stayed after class because cleaning up was easier than finding someone else to do it. I wasn't popular. I wasn't mysterious. I was just there. Which was exactly why what happened in art class surprised everyone, including me. It was a Friday afternoon. The last period of the day was advanced art. Our teacher, Mrs. Parker, walked into the classroom carrying a stack of blank canvases. Everyone immediately became nervous. Because Mrs. Parker's projects were never simple. She placed the canvases on the desks. This week's assignment is called. She wrote on the board. The person you imagine. The classroom became quiet. You will paint the person who represents your ideal. Someone raised a hand. Like a celebrity? Mrs. Parker smiled. If that's who truly represents what you value. Another student asked. Like our dream boyfriend or girlfriend? Everyone laughed. Mrs. Parker shrugged. If that is your interpretation. Immediately, the room became chaotic. People started joking. Some students talked about celebrities. Some talked about fictional characters. Some teased their friends. Then everyone looked at Claire. Because if anyone had a perfect answer, it would be her. Claire sat near the window. She simply picked up her pencil. No reaction. No embarrassment. No discussion. Classic Claire. I was sitting 2 seats away, working on my own sketch. I wasn't thinking much about the assignment. Honestly, I didn't think I had a chance. My dream person wasn't someone famous. It was just someone kind. Someone who noticed small things. Someone who made people feel important. The kind of person I thought probably didn't exist. Halfway through class, I accidentally dropped my pencil. Claire picked it up before I could. Here. I took it. Thanks. She nodded, then returned to her canvas. A normal moment. Except, Claire Bennett rarely helped people without saying anything. And somehow, that tiny action made me smile. The class continued. Everyone painted. Mrs. Parker walked around. Then she stopped behind Claire. She didn't say anything. She just stared. That caught everyone's attention. Because Mrs. Parker was usually impossible to surprise. Claire. Yes? Are you sure? The whole class looked over. Claire looked calm. Yes. Mrs. Parker smiled. Then finish it. I became curious. Because Claire was usually the person who finished first. But this time, she spent the entire class carefully working on one painting. Not a quick sketch. Not something abstract. A detailed portrait. When the bell rang, everyone started packing. Claire covered her canvas. That was unusual. Someone laughed. Why are you hiding it? Claire looked up. I'm not. Then show us. She shook her head. Not yet. I didn't think much about it. Until Monday. The art club held an exhibition in the school hallway. Every student displayed their project. Students walked around looking at the paintings. Some were funny. Some were beautiful. Some were obviously made to impress others. Then everyone reached Claire's canvas. And stopped. Because nobody expected what they saw. The painting wasn't a celebrity. It wasn't a model. It wasn't some imaginary perfect person. It was a boy. A boy sitting in the media room, holding a camera, smiling slightly while fixing equipment. I recognized the scene immediately. Because it was me. My entire body froze. No way. Someone whispered. That's Lucas? The hallway became silent. I looked at Claire. She was standing behind the crowd. Calm. But her expression was different. Nervous. Actually nervous. I walked closer. Claire. She looked at me. Yes? Is this? I pointed at the painting. She nodded. Yes. My brain struggled. You painted me? Yes. Why? The students around us became quiet. Everyone wanted the answer. Claire looked at the painting, then at me, and said, because the assignment was to draw my dream person. A pause. And I already knew who that was. The hallway exploded. People gasped. Someone actually dropped their phone. I stared at her. Claire. She stepped closer. I know what everyone thinks. They think I would choose someone impressive. Someone famous. Someone everyone notices. She looked at me. But the person I admire most was always the person who noticed everyone else. I couldn't speak. Because Claire Bennett, the girl everyone called unreachable, had just painted me as her dream. Then she did something even more surprising. She turned the canvas around completely. On the back was a sentence written in her handwriting. I spent years drawing what I thought perfection looked like. Then I met him. I looked at her. What happens now? Claire smiled slightly. Now everyone knows. Knows what? She leaned closer. That my dream boy was never a dream. A pause. He was standing next to me the whole time. And that was the moment I realized. The school ice queen hadn't accidentally revealed her painting. She had finally revealed her heart. The painting stayed in the hallway for 3 days. 3 days. And somehow, I never got used to walking past it. Every morning, students stopped to look. Some whispered. Some smiled. Some acted like they weren't interested while obviously slowing down to read the description. Because everyone wanted to understand one thing. Why me? That was the question I kept hearing. Not directly. Nobody was rude enough to ask. But I could see it in their expressions. Why would Claire Bennett paint Lucas Reed, the school ice queen, the girl everyone admired, choosing the quiet guy from the media room? Even I had the same question. I found Claire after school in the art room. She was cleaning brushes. Of course she was. Even after revealing something that shocked the entire school, she was still acting normal. Claire. She looked up. Lucas. I walked inside. You're not avoiding me? She looked confused. Why would I? Because everyone knows. She smiled slightly. Everyone knew eventually. That answer surprised me. You planned this? She put the brush down. No. Then why did you show it? For the first time. Claire hesitated. Not because she didn't know the answer. Because the answer mattered. I was tired. I frowned. Tired? Yes. She looked at the painting. Tired of pretending something wasn't true. I followed her eyes. The painting. Me. A moment I didn't even remember. Why that scene? I asked. Out of everything you could paint, why me fixing a camera? Claire smiled. Because that was the first time I noticed you. I was surprised. The camera? Yes. She sat down. I sat across from her. It was sophomore year. She said. The school photography contest. I remembered. The contest where my team almost quit because our equipment broke. I remember that. I said. I know. Claire smiled. Because you were the only person who stayed. I thought about it. We didn't have a choice. Yes, you did. What? You could have left. I looked at her. Claire continued. Everyone else blamed the broken equipment. They said the contest was unfair. They said there was no point. But you? You sat there for 3 hours trying to repair one camera. I laughed. That was because it was expensive. No. She shook her head. That wasn't why. I became quiet. Why did you do it? She asked. I thought. Because everyone worked hard. A pause. They deserved to show their work. Claire looked at me. That was the answer. I smiled. The answer to what? Why you became my dream person. I froze. Claire. She smiled. I know it sounds dramatic. A little. She laughed. A real laugh. But it's true. She picked up another canvas. This one was covered. You have more? I asked. She looked surprised. No. That was definitely a lie. Claire. She sighed. Maybe. I laughed. You really have a secret collection? She looked away. Not a collection. What is it? A timeline. That caught my attention. A timeline? She nodded. Of moments when I realized you were different. She walked to a storage cabinet. Inside were several smaller paintings. Not finished artwork. Private sketches. She took out the first one. It was a picture of a hallway. A student sitting alone. And me standing beside him. I recognized it. Freshman year. A new student had been eating lunch alone. I invited him to sit with us. I barely remembered. You painted this? Yes. Why? Because everyone walked past him. She looked at me. You didn't. The next painting. Me holding an umbrella over someone else. The next. Me carrying boxes for a teacher. The next, me fixing a broken club sign. I stared. You remember all of these? Claire nodded. Yes. Why? She answered simply. Because nobody else did. That sentence hit me. Because it explained Claire. Everyone thought she wanted attention. But maybe she was someone who spent her life noticing things nobody else noticed. Including me. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Claire became quiet. Because I thought you would think it was strange. I smiled. Claire. Yes? You painted me as your dream person. A pause. I think we passed strange a while ago. She laughed. And I realized something. The Ice Queen wasn't impossible to understand. She was just someone who felt deeply but showed it carefully. Before I left, she stopped me. Lucas. Yes? There is one more thing. I turned. What? She picked up the original painting. The one from the hallway. She turned it around. I expected another sentence. Instead, I saw something I hadn't noticed before. In the corner of the painting, there was a small detail. A second person. A girl sitting behind the camera. Watching me. I looked at Claire. You painted yourself? She nodded. Yes. Why? She smiled. Because the assignment wasn't only about my dream person. A pause. It was about the person who made me want to be seen. I stared at the painting. And suddenly I understood. Claire didn't paint me because she thought I was perfect. She painted me because around me, she felt like she could stop pretending to be. Then my phone buzzed. A message from the art club. Announcement: Claire Bennett's painting has been selected for the National Student Exhibition. I looked at Claire. That's amazing. She smiled. Maybe. Maybe? She looked at me. I'm more interested in something else. What? She stepped closer. The person who inspired it. A pause. Will he come with me? I froze. Because suddenly, the girl who painted her dream boy was asking him to be part of her future. I thought Claire would regret it. Not the painting. The attention. Because Claire Bennett was many things. Confident. Talented. Determined. But she was never someone who enjoyed being the center of a conversation. And now, everyone knew. The school ice queen had painted her dream boy. And that dream boy was me. The National Student Art Exhibition was 2 weeks later. The entire art club was preparing. Students carried paintings. Teachers organized schedules. Everyone was excited. Claire, however, was completely calm. Almost too calm. You're not nervous? I asked. She looked up from arranging her artwork. About what? The exhibition. No. Really? Yes. I looked at her. You're showing a painting of me in front of hundreds of people. She paused, then nodded. Yes. And you're not nervous? She thought for a second. Maybe a little. I smiled. Only a little? Yes. Why? She looked at the painting. Because the hardest part already happened. What was that? She turned toward me, admitting it was you. I didn't know what to say. Because that was very clear. Everyone thought the difficult part was showing the world. But for her, the difficult part was letting one person know. On the day of the exhibition, the school sent a bus to the City Art Center. Students from different schools arrived. Paintings filled the huge hall. There were portraits, landscapes, abstract pieces. Everyone wanted to impress the judges. Claire's painting was placed near the center. A good position. A very noticeable position. I stood beside her. Are you sure about this? I asked. She looked at me. About what? About everyone seeing. She smiled. Lucas. Yes? I painted this because I wanted people to see. I looked at the painting again. The title was written underneath. The person who notices. Not the perfect boy. Not my dream. Something much simpler. Something that sounded exactly like Claire. People started gathering around. At first, they just looked at the artwork. Then they read the description. Then they looked at me. I immediately felt uncomfortable. Claire noticed. Of course she did. You want to leave, she said. I looked at her. How do you know? You stepped backward twice. I laughed. You count that? Yes. Why? She smiled. Because I notice you. That sentence made me stop. Because it was the same thing she had been doing all along. Noticing. A group of students from another school walked over. One girl looked at the painting. This is beautiful. Then she looked at Claire. Is this someone real? Claire nodded. Yes. Your boyfriend? The question came so directly that I froze. Claire didn't. She simply answered. Not yet. I looked at her. She smiled slightly. The girl laughed. That's a very confident answer. Claire looked at the painting. He deserves confidence. My face became warm. Later, during the judge review, everyone waited outside. Claire stood quietly. I noticed she was holding her hands together. You are nervous, I said. She looked surprised. How did you know? I smiled. Because you're doing that thing. What thing? Pretending you're not nervous. She laughed softly. You learned. From you. A few minutes later, the judges came out. The lead judge held a folder. Claire Bennett. She stepped forward. Your piece received the highest evaluation. Everyone cheered. The judge continued. Not only because of the technical skill, but because it tells a story. Claire listened carefully. The judge looked at the painting. You captured something difficult. What? Someone's value before the world recognizes it. I looked at Claire, because that was exactly what she had done. She saw me before anyone else did. After the awards ceremony, Claire and I walked outside. The city lights were starting to appear. You won, I said. She shook her head. We won. I smiled. You really include me in everything. Yes. Why? She looked confused. Because you are part of it. I stopped walking. Part of what? My story. That answer felt different. Because Claire wasn't saying I completed her. She wasn't saying she needed me. She was saying she chose to share her life with me. Claire. Yes? Can I ask something? Of course. Before the painting, when did you first think of me as someone special? She became quiet, then smiled. Do you really want to know? Yes. She opened her phone, scrolled through her photos, then showed me one. It was a picture of a school hallway. A younger version of me was walking away. I frowned. That's me. Yes. When was this? Freshman year. Why did you take this? Claire looked at the photo. Because that was the first time I saw you do something nobody noticed. What did I do? She smiled. You gave your umbrella to someone else. I froze. That? Yes. It was just an umbrella. No. She looked at me. It was a choice. I became quiet. Because once again, Claire remembered something I forgot. Everyone thinks I chose you because of the painting, she said. But the painting was only the moment everyone saw. A pause. The choice happened years before. I looked at her. So you were already choosing me? Yes. How long? She smiled. Long enough. Before we left, she handed me a small card. I opened it. Inside was a sketch. Not the final painting. A rough drawing. The first version. On the bottom, Claire had written. I didn't know his name yet, but I knew I wanted to remember him. I looked at her. You kept this? Yes. Why? She smiled. Because every story has a first page. And suddenly I understood. The painting everyone saw was not the beginning. It was just the page where Claire finally stopped hiding the story. I thought I understood Claire Bennett. At least, I thought I was getting closer. I knew she was quiet. I knew she noticed everything. I knew she remembered moments everyone else forgot. But I was starting to realize something. Claire didn't just remember moments. She collected them. After the exhibition, Claire became even more famous at school. Not because she won. Everyone expected her to win. But because of what she painted. People started talking about her differently. She actually has feelings? Who knew she was that romantic? She painted him like he was the most important person in the world. I heard those comments everywhere. And every time I looked at Claire, she didn't seem bothered. That was unusual. The old Claire would have avoided the attention. But now, she simply walked beside me. Like she had already accepted that everyone knew. One afternoon, I found her sitting alone in the art room. The sunlight came through the windows. She was sketching something. Not painting. Just drawing. I knocked on the door. Can I come in? She looked up. Of course. I walked closer. What are you drawing? She immediately closed the notebook. Nothing. I smiled. That means it's something. Claire looked away. You learned my habits. From you. I sat beside her. You know. What? You painted me in front of the whole school. Yes. But you won't show me a sketch? She became quiet, then sighed. Fair. She slowly opened the notebook. Don't laugh. I won't. Promise? Promise. I looked down. And froze. Because it wasn't one drawing. It was dozens. The first page. A boy sitting in the library. The second. A boy repairing a camera. The third. A boy laughing with friends. The fourth. A boy walking through the rain. I looked at Claire. How long have you been drawing these? She hesitated. A while. How long is a while? She looked embarrassed. 2 years. I stared. 2 years? Yes. Claire. I know. You drew me for 2 years? She nodded. I didn't know what to say. Because somehow, that felt more personal than the painting. The painting was public. This was private. Why? I asked. She touched the edge of the notebook. Because I was afraid I would forget. Forget what? The little things. I looked confused. Claire explained. People remember big moments. Winning competitions. Receiving awards. Giving speeches. But those aren't the moments that make someone important. She looked at the sketches. The little things are. I smiled. You really believe that? Yes. Why? She looked at me. Because nobody remembers when I was tired. Nobody remembers when I was nervous. Nobody remembers when I needed someone. A pause. But you did. I became quiet. Because she was right. I didn't remember doing anything special. But Claire remembered because those moments mattered to her. Can I ask something? I said. Yes. Why didn't you tell me before? She looked down. This time, she answered honestly. Because I thought you would feel pressured. Pressured? Yes. To become the person I imagined. That surprised me. Claire. She continued. You never knew I saw you that way. You never tried to impress me. You never acted differently around me. She smiled. I was afraid if I told you, you would start trying. I understood. Because that was the reason I liked Claire too. She never asked me to become someone else. So what changed? I asked. What made you finally show everyone? Claire looked at the notebook. Then answered. The art assignment. The dream person? Yes. She smiled. When the teacher said we had to draw someone who represented what we valued, I realized something. What? I had already spent years drawing you. I laughed softly. So you were basically forced to admit it. She smiled. Exactly. Then she took out another page. This one was different. It was a drawing of two people. A boy holding a camera. A girl holding a paintbrush. Walking beside each other. At the bottom was a sentence. The person who saw me became the person I wanted to see every day. I looked at her. Claire. Yes? Do you realize how obvious you are? She tilted her head. What do you mean? You spent 2 years drawing me. A pause. You painted me as your dream person. Another pause. You wrote all these things. I smiled. And you still thought I wouldn't notice. For a second, Claire looked embarrassed. Then she laughed. I suppose I'm not as good at everything as people think. I smiled. No, you're just bad at realizing how much people care about you. That sentence made her quiet. Then she did something unexpected. She handed me the sketchbook. Keep it. I looked surprised. Are you sure? Yes. But this is personal. She nodded. I know. Then why give it to me? Claire smiled. Because these drawings were always about you. A pause. And I don't want to hide them anymore. I held the sketchbook carefully. Because I knew what this meant. Claire wasn't just showing me her artwork. She was showing me the part of herself she protected the most. Before I left, she stopped me. Lucas. Yes? There's one more thing. I laughed. Another secret? Yes. What now? She looked at me. The first painting, the one everyone saw, wasn't actually the first version. I froze. What? Claire smiled. I painted another one before. Where is it? She looked toward the storage room. I never showed anyone. Why? A pause. Because that was the first time I admitted. I like you. My heart skipped. Can I see it? Claire smiled. Maybe. And somehow, I knew. The girl who painted her dream boy still had another story hidden behind the canvas. Chapter 5. The painting she hid because it was too honest. The next day, Claire asked me to meet her after school. Not in the art room. Not in the hallway where everyone could see. She chose the old storage room behind the art building. The place almost nobody visited. Which immediately told me something. Whatever was inside was important. When I arrived, Claire was already waiting. She was standing in front of a locked cabinet. You really have a secret place. I said. She looked at me. You say that like it's surprising. It is. Why? Because you're Claire Bennett. She tilted her head. And? You're usually the person who has everything organized. She smiled. I do. Then why hide things? Her expression softened. Because some things aren't meant to be organized. She unlocked the cabinet. Inside was a large canvas covered by a dark cloth. I immediately knew. This is it? Claire nodded. Yes. The first painting? Yes. She slowly removed the cloth. And I forgot what I was going to say. Because it was me. Again. But different. The painting was not like the exhibition piece. The exhibition painting was beautiful. Perfect. Carefully composed. This one was completely different. It was messy. Real. It showed me sitting alone in the media room. Headphones on. Surrounded by unfinished projects. Looking tired. Not smiling. Just being myself. I stared. Claire. She looked nervous. Actually nervous. This was the first one. When? Junior year. I walked closer. Why this moment? Claire was silent for a few seconds. Then she answered. Because that was the first time I saw you when nobody else was watching. I looked at the painting. I don't understand. She stepped closer. Everyone sees you helping people. They see the finished result. They see the person who fixes things. But that day, I saw you after everyone left. I remembered. It was after the school festival. Everyone had gone home. I stayed behind to organize equipment. I was tired. I said, yes. You saw me? Yes. She smiled softly. You thought nobody noticed. A pause. But I did. I looked at the painting again. You painted me tired. Yes. Why? Claire's answer was quiet. Because that was when I realized. You didn't help people because you wanted them to see you. You helped them even when nobody would. I became silent. The strange thing about Claire was, she always saw the things I thought were meaningless. But why hide it? I asked. Her fingers touched the edge of the canvas. Because this painting was too honest. Too honest? Yes. The exhibition painting showed the person I admired. She looked at the first painting. This one showed the reason why. I understood. The exhibition painting was her confession. This was her realization. Claire. Yes? Were you already sure? About what? That you like me. She smiled. No. Then? I was confused. That surprised me. You? Yes. Why? She laughed softly. Because I had never felt that way before. She sat down. I sat beside her. I spent my whole life knowing exactly what I wanted. She said, what college? What career? What goals? But then you appeared. And suddenly, I wanted something I couldn't plan. I smiled. That sounds difficult for you. It was. She looked at me. You were the first thing in my life that I couldn't control. I laughed. Sorry? She smiled. I don't mean it badly. I mean, you made me stop calculating. I understood. Because Claire's entire life was built on decisions. And then she met someone who made her feel. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Again. Because it was the one question I couldn't stop asking. She looked down. Because I thought you didn't see me that way. I was surprised. Why? Because you treated me normally. I laughed. That was the problem? Yes. She smiled. Everyone else treated me like Claire Bennett. But you treated me like Claire. That answer stayed with me. Then she opened another folder. Inside were pages of writing. Not drawings. Notes. I looked confused. What are these? Claire hesitated. My thoughts. About what? She looked away. About you. I smiled. You really kept everything. Yes. I opened the first page. The date was from 2 years ago. The first sentence. Today Lucas smiled at me after fixing a broken camera. I think he doesn't realize how much small kindness matters. I turned another page. Today Lucas helped a student who was crying. He didn't even notice I was watching. Another. Today Lucas asked if I had eaten lunch. Nobody asked. I stopped. Because suddenly I understood. The painting wasn't the confession. The notebook wasn't the confession. All of it was proof. Proof that Claire had been paying attention. Claire. Yes? Why did you keep these? She looked at me. Because I was afraid one day I would convince myself it wasn't real. That answer hurt a little. Because Claire was always seen as someone impossible to shake. But even she had doubts. I closed the notebook. You know something? What? I think you're the person who notices everyone. A pause. But nobody noticed you were waiting to be noticed. Claire became quiet. Then smiled. That's why it was you. Before we left, she handed me the hidden painting. I was surprised. You're giving it to me? Yes. But this was your first painting. I know. Then why? She looked at me. Because it was the first time I saw my dream person. A pause. And now, I want him to have it. I carefully held the canvas. Because I finally understood. Claire Bennett didn't paint me because she thought I was perfect. She painted me because she saw the parts of me that I ignored. As we walked out, my phone suddenly buzzed. A message from the school art department. Congratulations. Claire Bennett's collection has been selected for the National Student Showcase. I looked at Claire. That's amazing. She smiled. Yes. Then another line appeared. Special request. The artist must attend with the person who inspired the collection. I looked at her. She looked back at me. Claire. Yes? Did you know about this? She smiled. Maybe. You planned this? No. Then? She stepped closer. I just hoped you would say yes. And suddenly I realized. The first painting was never the end of the story. It was the beginning. Because Claire wasn't just showing the world her dream boy. She was asking him to walk into her future. I thought the painting exhibition was already the biggest moment. I was wrong. Because Claire Bennett had a habit of doing one thing. She always waited until I thought I understood everything. And then showed me there was another layer. The National Student Showcase was held at the City Art Museum. Students from dozens of schools attended. The best artists. The best photographers. The best designers. Everyone wanted their work to be remembered. And Claire? She brought a collection about someone nobody expected. Me. When we arrived, I immediately felt uncomfortable. Not because of the museum. Not because of the crowd. Because every person who looked at Claire eventually looked at me. I lowered my voice. Everyone knows. Claire looked around. Yes. You're not bothered? She smiled. Why would I be? Because people are staring. She looked at me. Lucas. Yes? They stared before. I thought about it. That's different. How? Before, they were trying to figure you out. And now? She held my hand. Now they know. I froze. Because Claire Bennett had never been someone who showed affection publicly. At school, she was careful. Not distant. Careful. But today, she didn't hide. We walked into the exhibition hall. Her artwork was placed in the center. The collection title. Someone who notices. There were 5 pieces. The first painting. Me fixing the broken camera. The second. Me helping a student after class. The third. Me sitting alone after everyone left. The fourth. The painting from the hallway. The dream boy. The final piece. A blank canvas. Everyone was confused. A blank canvas in the center of a collection? That didn't make sense. A judge approached Claire. Can you explain the last piece? Claire nodded. Yes. What does it represent? She looked at the empty canvas. Then at me. It represents the future. The judge smiled. A future with no image? Claire shook her head. No. A future that hasn't been painted yet. The judge looked curious. Why? Claire answered. Because I used to think I had to know exactly what my future looked like. My career. My goals. Everything. She looked at the blank canvas. But then I realized. The best things in life are not always the things you plan. I knew what she meant. After the judges left, a group of students gathered around. One of them recognized me. You're Lucas, right? I nodded. Yes. They smiled. So you're the person in all the paintings. I laughed awkwardly. Apparently. A girl looked at Claire. I have a question. Claire nodded. What? Why him? The question was simple. But everyone wanted the answer. Claire didn't hesitate. Because he never tried to become someone important. The room became quiet. He just was. She continued. Most people want to be noticed. But Lucas spends his time noticing others. I looked down. Because compliments from Claire always felt different. She never exaggerated. She just described what she saw. That evening, the award ceremony began. Claire won first place. Nobody was surprised. But the surprise came afterward. The host returned to the stage. There is one additional recognition. Everyone looked up. This year, the judges created a special award for the person who inspired the winning collection. I immediately knew. No. I whispered. Claire looked at me. Yes. Claire. You deserve it. The host announced. The inspiration award goes to Lucas Reed. The entire room applauded. I stood there completely frozen. Because I didn't create the paintings. I didn't enter the competition. I didn't do anything. When I walked onto the stage, the host handed me the award. Then asked, how does it feel to inspire such meaningful artwork? I looked at Claire. She was watching me. Waiting. I answered honestly. I don't think I inspired the artwork. The audience became quiet. I think Claire did something more difficult. What? She saw something worth painting. I looked at her, and she made me realize I was worth seeing too. For a moment, Claire looked completely still. Then she smiled. That smile was worth more than the award. After the ceremony, we went outside. The city was bright. The museum lights reflected on the street. Claire was quiet. "You're thinking," I said. She smiled. "You learned. You always do that." "What?" "You notice when I'm quiet." I smiled. "Someone has to." She looked at me. "That used to be my line. Now it's mine." She laughed. Then she reached into her bag. "Another envelope." I immediately laughed. "Seriously?" Claire smiled. "Yes. You have endless envelopes." "Maybe." I opened it. Inside was a small sketch. Not me. Not her. A house. A garden. Two people sitting outside. I looked at her. "Claire." She looked away. "I know it's early." "Early for what?" She took a breath. "For imagining." I looked at the sketch again. "What is this?" She smiled. "A possibility." "A future?" "Yes." "With no details?" "Yes." I smiled. "Because the canvas isn't painted yet?" She nodded. "Exactly." Then she looked at me. "But I know one thing." "What?" She stepped closer. "The person standing beside me." I looked at her. And suddenly I understood. Claire's dream wasn't a perfect person. It wasn't a perfect life. It was simply someone she wanted to keep choosing. On the way home, she asked, "Lucas." "Yes?" "Do you regret becoming my dream boy?" I laughed. "No." "Why?" "Because I never tried to be." She smiled. "That's why." And somehow, the girl who spent years painting the person she dreamed of, finally found the one thing she couldn't create with a brush. A real future. With me. After the National Student Showcase, something strange happened. People stopped asking, "Why Lucas?" Instead, they started asking, "How did Claire know?" Because everyone finally understood something. Claire Bennett didn't fall for the person everyone noticed. She fell for the person nobody was paying attention to. And somehow, that made the story even more special. A week after the exhibition, Claire received another invitation. The school wanted to display her collection permanently. Not because she won. Because the teachers believed the paintings represented something important. The principal personally asked her, "Claire, your work changed how students see each other." She smiled politely. "Thank you. But I have one request." The principal looked surprised. "What is it?" Claire glanced at me. "Lucas has to be there." I immediately shook my head. "No." Everyone looked at me. Claire frowned. "No, I'm not the artist. You're the reason there is art. That doesn't mean I belong there." Claire became quiet, and I instantly realized something. I had said the wrong thing. Not because she was angry, because she understood. Later that day, she found me outside the media room. "You still do that," she said. I looked up. "Do what?" "Remove yourself from important moments." I was silent, because she was right. "Lucas." "Yes?" "Do you remember what you told me about the painting?" "What?" "You said you didn't understand why I painted you." I nodded. She continued, "Because you don't see yourself the way other people see you." I smiled. "That sounds familiar." "Yes. Because you said the same thing to me." Claire sat beside me. "That's why I need you there." "Why?" "Because the painting isn't only about me." A pause. "It's about what happens when someone sees another person clearly." I didn't answer. Because somehow, she always found the words I couldn't. The day of the permanent exhibition arrived. The art room was completely transformed. Claire's paintings were displayed along the walls. Students gathered. Teachers came. Parents visited. Everyone wanted to see the collection that changed the way people looked at the school ice queen. At the entrance was the first painting. The one from the hallway. The Dream Boy. But underneath it was a new description. Not written by the school. Written by Claire. I used to believe dreams were things you imagined. Then I met someone who made me realize dreams could be real people. I stared at the words. "You wrote this?" Claire nodded. "Yes." "When?" "Last night." I smiled. "You couldn't stop editing?" She looked away. "Maybe." I laughed. Because some things never changed. During the opening ceremony, the principal invited Claire to speak. Everyone expected her usual confident speech. But this time, she surprised everyone. I used to think being talented meant seeing things nobody else could see. A pause. But I was wrong. The room became quiet. Sometimes talent is not about seeing something hidden. Sometimes it is about noticing something everyone ignored. She looked toward me. I spent years trying to understand why people admired me, but eventually I realized being admired is not the same as being known. Everyone listened. The person who inspired this collection never tried to impress anyone. He never tried to become important. He simply cared. A pause. And somehow, that became the most important thing to me. I looked down, because once again, Claire was saying things I didn't know how to accept. After the speech, students came to look at the paintings. One younger student approached me. "Can I ask something?" "Sure. Were you surprised when you saw the painting?" I laughed. "Very." "Why?" "Because I didn't think anyone saw me that way." The student looked at the painting. "Do you now?" I thought about it, then answered, "Yes." Because Claire had changed something. Not by making me famous. Not by putting me in front of everyone. She changed it by showing me that being noticed wasn't about being the loudest person in the room. Sometimes, it was about being meaningful to one person. That evening, after everyone left, Claire and I stayed behind. The art room was quiet. The paintings surrounded us. "You're happy," I said. She looked surprised. "How do you know?" "You're smiling." She touched her face. "Am I?" "Yes." She laughed softly. "I didn't notice." I smiled. "Now you know how I feel." She looked at me. "What do you mean?" "You notice everything about everyone else." A pause. "But sometimes you forget to notice yourself." Claire smiled. "Maybe we're similar." "Maybe." She walked toward the final blank canvas. The one from the exhibition. "The future." I added something. She said. I looked surprised. "When?" "Today." She turned it around. The blank canvas was no longer blank. There were two small figures. Not detailed. Not finished. Just two people walking forward. At the bottom, she wrote, "The future is unfinished. But I know who I want beside me while we create it." I looked at her. "Claire." "Yes?" "You know everyone is going to think this is another confession." She smiled. "Maybe it is." I laughed. "You never get tired of surprising people." "No." "Why?" She stepped closer. "Because I spent years hiding what I felt." A pause. "Now I want to make sure you never doubt it." And in that moment, I finally understood. The school ice queen didn't paint her dream boy because she wanted everyone to know who she loved. She painted him because she wanted the person she loved to know. He had always been seen. Before we left, she held my hand. "Lucas." "Yes?" "One day." "What?" "I want to paint this moment too." I smiled. "Why?" "Because this is the moment I realized something." "What?" She looked at me. "My dream was never finding the perfect person." A pause. "It was finding someone I could keep choosing." And for the first time, I wasn't the boy standing behind the camera. I was part of the picture. Years later, people still talked about Claire Bennett's artwork. They talked about the awards, the exhibitions, the paintings that traveled across different cities. They talked about how a quiet high school artist became one of the most recognized young creators of her generation. But whenever someone asked Claire what her greatest work was, she always gave the same answer. The one I almost didn't paint. And everyone knew what she meant. The portrait. The dream boy. Me. 5 years after graduation, Claire and I returned to Westbridge High. This time, not as students. We were invited back for the school's annual art ceremony. The place looked different. New classrooms. New decorations. New students. But some things never changed. The old art room was still there. The same windows. The same wooden tables. The same corner where Claire used to sit quietly and draw. When we walked inside, Claire stopped. "You remember this place?" I asked. She smiled. "How could I forget?" I looked around. "You spent a lot of time here." "Yes." "Painting?" She shook her head. "Thinking." I laughed. "That sounds like you." She smiled. "It was where I learned something important." "What?" She looked at me. "Sometimes the most important things are the ones you never planned." I knew exactly what she meant. Because Claire Bennett had planned everything in her life. Everything except me. A group of students entered the room. They recognized Claire immediately. "Ms. Bennett?" Claire turned. "Yes?" One student looked excited. "Are you really the artist who painted the Dream Boy collection?" Claire smiled. "Yes." The student looked at me. "And he's the person in the paintings?" I laughed awkwardly. "Yes." The student looked amazed. "How did you know he was the right person?" I expected Claire to give a complicated answer. something about art, something about inspiration. Instead, she said, I didn't know. Everyone looked surprised. Claire continued, that was the point. She walked toward the old painting display. Sometimes you don't recognize an important person because they look special. Sometimes you recognize them because you feel different around them. The students listened carefully. I never thought Lucas was perfect. She smiled. He was late sometimes. I immediately looked at her. Really? She nodded seriously. Yes. The students laughed. He forgot things. Hey. And he underestimated himself. I smiled. Okay, that one is true. Claire looked at me. But none of that mattered. She turned back to the students. Because the person you choose isn't someone without flaws. It's someone whose flaws you understand. Someone whose kindness you notice. Someone you want beside you even when nothing exciting is happening. The room became quiet. After the students left, I looked at Claire. You've gotten better at speeches. She smiled. I learned from someone. Who? She looked at me. You. I laughed. I never gave speeches. No. But you always said the things that mattered. That was Claire. She could turn the smallest sentence into something unforgettable. Before we left, she took me to the storage room, the same place where she showed me her first painting. But this time, there was something new. A huge canvas covered by a cloth. I immediately laughed. Another hidden painting? Claire smiled. Yes. You really love surprises. Maybe. She removed the cloth. And I froze. Because it wasn't a painting of me. It wasn't a painting of her. It was a painting of a moment. A classroom. A girl sitting near the window. A boy sitting nearby. A small smile between them. Nothing dramatic. Nothing perfect. Just two people existing together. I looked at her. This is new. Yes. When did you paint this? Recently. Why? She looked at the canvas. Because I realized something. What? The first painting was about the moment I noticed you. The second was about the moment I chose you. A pause. And this one? She smiled. This one is about all the ordinary days after. I understood. Because that was the part nobody talked about. Everyone loved the dramatic moment. The confession. The painting. The announcement. But real love wasn't built from one perfect scene. It was built from thousands of ordinary ones. Claire handed me the painting. Keep it. I looked surprised. Again? Yes. You're giving away your artwork. She smiled. Not my artwork. What then? Our memories. I looked at the painting. Then at her. Claire. Yes? Do you still think I'm your dream boy? She smiled. No. I was surprised. No? She shook her head. Because that was 5 years ago. I laughed. Then what am I now? She stepped closer. The person I chose after the dream ended. I became quiet. Because somehow, that was the most Claire answer possible. Not a fantasy. Not an impossible ideal. A choice. A real one. That evening, before leaving Westbridge, we walked past the hallway where the first painting had been displayed. The wall was empty now. The exhibition was gone. The students had moved on. But I still remembered that day. The moment Claire turned the canvas around. The moment everyone discovered her dream boy was me. Do you remember what you said? I asked. Claire looked at me. What? When you showed the painting. She thought. I said my dream boy was never a dream. I nodded. Yes. She smiled. And? I smiled back. And he was standing next to you the whole time. Claire laughed softly. You remembered. Of course. Why? I looked at her. Because you taught me something. What? That the moments people forget can become the ones someone else remembers forever. She held my hand. And together we walked out of the school. The same place where the story began. The place where a quiet boy helped a girl fix a camera. The place where a girl painted the person she admired. The place where everyone learned one simple truth. The school ice queen was never searching for a perfect dream. She was searching for someone real. Someone who noticed her. Someone who stayed. Someone she could choose every day. And somehow, that person was me. That's all for today. Remember to subscribe and support us.